You're listening to The Lars Larson Show. Welcome back to The Lars Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you. Now, I know a lot of you probably hear us talking about issues like the transgender issue, and you hear me saying this is going to be a slippery slope and the collateral damage is going to be widespread. And you say, yeah, I'm not involved in any of that. I don't know anybody who's transgender, so it's not going to affect me. And then we start pointing out to you, it's affecting your kids in school. It's affecting the use of locker rooms and bathrooms. But I didn't even imagine that it could go this far. Can you imagine this? You're a young lady and you're concerned about the current state of law enforcement almost anywhere in America. And you say, maybe I'll take a self-defense class. So I'm going to sign up for a women's only self-defense class. Well, guess what? The transgender issue is there as well. And Nathan Wallner joins me now. He owns a jiu-jitsu studio and an MMA school in Newport. Nathan, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, Lars.
You wrote to me because you said you've got a concern. You said we offered a free women's self-defense class. It's the fourth one you've offered for free, but it caught the attention of the woke community. What happened next?
Yes, sir. So I put it out online about a week before, and just like I had before, trying to whip up a little bit of momentum and get people excited about it. And the wrong person saw it, I guess, and next thing I knew, I was having a fight to define what is a woman. And it was unbelievable, really, the backlash that came. I got a bunch of hate DMs from people, but the nice part is I got as much support as I did hate from people. So that gave me a little bit of hope to keep it going, and we had it. It was successful, and I look forward to having more.
Okay, but let me ask you this. There has to be both a physical and a physics reason that you might want to have a class that's exclusively for women. Am I right in guessing that?
Absolutely. Whether people like to believe it or not, there's absolutely a physical difference between men and women, and especially that comes through in a self-defense situation.
So what happens if you get somebody who is a transgender but is a good-sized former male who now says he identifies as a woman? That person shows up and says, I want to take the class along with all the other biological women you have in the class.
Well, that was my problem. And really, I just wanted to create a safe space for women. Lars, I've had so many good women in my life, from my grandma, my mom. I have sisters. I'm married. I have a beautiful daughter. And I just want to give back to the community. That's the skill set that I have and that I've acquired over my lifetime is good for fighting and self-defense. And I wanted to give that to the women of the community, and I just got the worst backlash for it.
By the way, I should mention that in your background, I don't want to leave this out, U.S. Air Force veteran, professional MMA veteran, second-degree jiu-jitsu black belt, father of two and happily married. You've got all the skills and all the background to be able to teach women how to defend themselves. You've got women in your own family, and I would imagine they know how to defend themselves.
Yeah, well, I've been training with my daughter since as soon as she could walk. Both of my kids grew up on the mats, so they're going to be well-versed in self-defense. But it's not just about my kids. Of course, my kids are going to be. I want to do what I can for my community. I want to, empower my community and make it as safe as I can. And my thought was, let me help half of the community out by giving a free women's self-defense class.
So tell me this. I'm talking to Nathan Waller. He owns a jiu-jitsu and MMA. They should come up with a name that's easier to say for old guys like me. Yeah. MMA school in Newport. But what happens next? Because if you, by just posting one little notice, women only, safe space for women to come and learn some self-defense, and you immediately get attacked. You said you've had to ban a lot of people from even being on your social media. Is that right?
Yeah, I blocked a bunch of people because, what they try to do is they love saying gaslighting. That's like the trendy word, for this community. And they're the biggest hypocrites when it comes to that stuff. So I had people that they tried to switch it around to make it sound like I said women that can't have babies can't come in. And they got crazy and took it out of control. And it really just started to annoy me at that point. There was no reason. I was never going to talk some sense into these people and just let them know I wanted to help women only. It was a losing battle. So, yeah, I blocked a bunch of people. And at the same time, I'm getting messages from other women who are saying, thank you for standing up for us. Thank you for doing this for the community and for women. And that made me feel so good. That's what really gave me the courage to keep going with it is more people probably than were against me were in support.
Well, here's what I'm concerned about, Nathan, because a lot like the Americans with Disabilities Act, that was a perfectly good law as it was conceived. And then people figured out how to game the law. And lawyers and some people would go out and they would deliberately target businesses and say, let's find problems, and then essentially shake the business down and say, well, it turns out that the aisle in your store isn't quite wide enough, and you actually haven't had any complaints from real ADA people, but we're going to launch a complaint unless you're willing to basically buy your way out of it. It allowed a sort of a legal extortion. And what I worry about is that a guy like you who thinks, okay, I got some abuse online, took care of most of that social media stuff, I've got big support from the community. What happens when somebody files a formal complaint and says you're discriminating in a state like Oregon, where you've got laws on the books that say you can't discriminate? Somebody could come after you almost any time, couldn't they?
Well, so one of the things that I did was my gym is a private gym, and I did this. I held this after hours, so it wasn't during normal hours. Lars, I want everybody in here. I'll take anybody, absolutely, and it's always been that way, of course. But I held this after hours, and it was a private event, and I think that's kind of what made it so I could do it without anybody really trying to mess with me too bad. But somebody went as far as complaining to the Bureau of Labor and Industry, BOLI, and I got a letter in the mail, and it said, this is not a formal complaint, but this is just a notification to let you know that somebody said you could be failing in this area, which is, it's actually, for me, it's so laughable. It's the piece of paper itself, I'm going to frame it because it's such a sign of the times. And it's a good story for normal people out there who know that women should be able to have women's only self-defense.
Well,
but
Nathan,
the reality is...
Sorry, go ahead.
You
said the reality is...
I do have to worry about that kind of stuff, somebody trying to come in. So what does that mean? I have a kids program here too, Lars. Does that mean a 45-year-old man could come in and identify as a 6-year-old girl and join my kids class? Is that what's next?
I wouldn't put it past him. And frankly, I was going to say, I hate with an Air Force veteran to mix in a Navy metaphor, but it sounds like BOLI was putting a shot across your bow saying, watch out, you could be in trouble. Is that the way you read it?
It was. It was a warning from the woke community. They didn't have anything on me. That's the thing, Lars. So, I ran it by a couple of my lawyer buddies, and they all said it's nonsense. It means absolutely nothing because I did nothing wrong. If this keeps going and they want it to keep going, and I'll keep going with it, I plan on having more women's self-defense classes. So if this keeps going, what's next then? Are we just not – everybody has to have their own class, or, is everything going to be co-ed, or are we just going to throw away men and women? Is that what we're doing now? There's no such thing as men.
If that's what they want to do, Nathan, I've had people say, if you want to solve the problem, don't have male and female classes. Say we'll have track and field. It's open to all. But you know what's going to happen is transgender former men and biological men are going to win everything. And women aren't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, the differences are gigantic. Like I looked up the other day, men beat the 4-minute mile about 70 years ago. Women have never done it. The closest they've come is 4:20. So if you say, are women ever going to be able to run a 4-minute mile? Maybe. But in the decades since men beat the 4-minute mile, there hasn't been a single woman able to do it. And now, is that talking down about women? Of course not. It's just saying, like you said at the beginning, there is a difference. Just so people know, I want you to tell them the name of your school because I want you to get more good reviews, and I want a community that will defend you. What is it?
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's the Tsunami Training Center. We've been running here since 2019. I've got nothing but 5 stars on Google. We've created a lot of jiu-jitsu champions in a short time, and I've done nothing but try to help this community as much as I can. So,
absolutely. That's Nathan Wallner from the Tsunami Jiu-Jitsu Center. You're listening to the Lars Larson Show. I'll get to your phone calls and emails next.